Welcome to Alpha Wolf Capital. I'm Tim, and I want to personally thank you for stopping by. This channel is designed to help small companies, both public and private, gain exposure with potential consumers, investors, even partners. Take, for example, today's guest, COO Ori WarShavsky from PolyPid, ticker symbol PYPD. PolyPid is a global clinical stage biopharmaceutical company focused on developing, manufacturing, commercializing novel, locally administered therapies to improve surgical outcomes. Their polymer lipid encapsulation matrix technology is a unique platform that is anchored in the surgical site to provide controlled and continuous delivery of medications. Their product candidates are designed to locally deliver medications over a period of several days to several months in a controlled manner. This allows surgeons to deliver medication right to the surgical site to improve inpatient outcomes and localized medical conditions. This is not to be taken as investment advice. I am not a certified financial planner. This is for education and entertainment purposes only. I encourage everyone to do their own due diligence. Hey everybody, Tim from Alpha Wolf Capital coming at you with a follow-up to a story that is coming. It's getting closer. The data that everyone is anticipating is right around the corner because and it's an exciting time because you just well, Ori, thanks for coming in from PolyPid, right? PYPD is the ticker symbol, and this. You had some data that did come out, right? That was I was trying to get you on then when that came out, but
Yeah.
we both got real
We
busy.
missed each other. Yeah.
Yeah. So why don't you give everybody first? Do us a
Well,
favor. Or you're the COO, Chief Operating
correct.
Officer.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Um, for those that don't know, just give everybody a real quick, kind of synopsis of what it is that PolyPid does.
Yeah, no problem. So we are an Israel-based biopharma with a delivery platform. Basically, we can take many types of drugs and turn them into local prolonged release delivery. Basically, we can do when other competitors, when they say prolonged release, they say release over 72 hours or 96 hours. For us, prolonged is days and weeks and even months of release. So really something different than what exists today. And our product, the phase three product that we'll talk in a minute about, basically takes our platform plus antibiotic. It's not a new antibiotic. It's already approved antibiotic that we are basically changing the way it's delivered, released over 30 days for prevention of surgical site infections, which are infections that happen in the hospital post major surgery. So a patient comes into the hospital for abdominal surgery or joint replacement, and now they get infected while they're in the hospital. So that's by definition a hospital acquired infection, a surgical site infection, and now the hospital is on the hook to clean this infection. And the definition is any infection within the first 30 days, and that's why we kind of customize the release of the antibiotics for 30 days. That's really overall. It's a relatively broad market. We're talking all in all close to 12 million procedures a year in the hospital. Those are the colon resections, the open hernia, the complex appendix, and then kind of more oncology related hysterectomies, ovarian cancer, some of the complicated emergency C-sections, breast reconstruction after mastectomy is a big thing here, a joint replacement, all these. So there's quite a big market that we're looking. Not all of it is available at day one, but there's an expansion plan that will take us all the way up to the full market.
Okay, and you got with in case anybody's wondering exactly how it works, you can go back to the first interview that we did There's a
Hmm.
very detailed there's a video even if you're a little queasy in the stomach or watching
Yeah.
operations, you may
Don't
not
watch it. Don't watch it before lunch.
right, don't want
Yeah.
to do it for lunch.
Yeah.
But it's really something else. I mean, it's almost like a paste or a powder type uh
Exactly.
product that gets placed right in the incision of where everything is going, right? I mean, and
It's placed once, and it's a one-time deal. It's placed one, the surgeon closes the incision, and from that point on, 30 days release of antibiotics. No need to wash, no need to reapply. And we have nice data to show that it really stays locally, so it doesn't really move around. It doesn't impact it's the bloodstream. It doesn't impact the microbiome. A lot of the things that today doctors, infectious disease specialists are worried about um, is obvious, is resistance is one, the impact on microbiome, toxicity to the kidneys. We bypass all of that because we are really local where the infection is without diluting into the bloodstream.
it's I mean it is more effective because it's right there at the
Exactly.
incision spot. It's not it has doesn't have to travel through the bloodstream to get
Exactly.
wherever it's got to go, right? So that's really the key for this thing.
Yes.
And so you just got your last. So let's tell everybody where you are in terms of.
I'll start maybe. So we announced last patient into the trial, but maybe I'll take a step back on how we got here. End of last year, in December, we had an interim analysis at 430 patients. This was done by an independent committee that looks at the data on an unblinded basis. So we remain blinded as a company, but the independent committee looks at the data, and the committee has two main roles. One is to check for safety, make sure there are no safety issues. And two is to look at the data and the statistics and right size the trial in terms of number of patients to ensure the highest probability of success in the trial. And what the committee said was, first they said there were no safety issues, which it's always good to hear. We've heard this now for a few times now, but good signal, no safety issues. And second, they looked at the data. They saw that there is efficacy, which first takes all the a scenario of futile trial, takes it off the table because they already saw that there is efficacy. And now they said you can stop the trial at 800 patients, which is the first station of where they could have sent us to. They could have said, okay, we've seen efficacy, but you need quite a lot more patients. You need to go all the way to 1100. But what they said was the first station, the first stop, which was 800, would be sufficient for a successful trial. So and again, this is from our perspective very positive. This increases the probability of success. Uh, we recruited the last patient, the 800 patient, in mid-March, and and what we saw is the first 400 patients, what the committee saw in terms is the patient population is very much similar for the second 400 patients, right? So whatever the committee saw, and they saw the efficacy, and they saw the split of men, women, cancer patients versus not, age, really similar to the second 400 patients, which again makes us comfortable that the trend will stay the same for the first 400 and the second 400. So the last patient was recruited in middle of March. There's now 30 days follow-up for efficacy because the drug works for 30 days. There's another 30 days for safety follow-up. This is a requirement from the FDA. So mid-May, we complete the full follow-up of the last patient, and then clean up the data, adjudicate the infections that came up, and kind of run the statistics. So our goal is mid to late June to have top line data. And of course, once we have it, we'll announce it. There'll be an investor call to announce it.
All right, so you're right around the corner, and this is
We're counting in weeks now, not in months.
yeah,
It's,
you're talking weeks,
yeah,
not months,
yeah.
and I'm sure you're probably a nervous wreck. You get much sleep right now?
No, it's, at this point, all we can do, we did everything we can. All we can do is wait now. The patient is, everyone is done, right? We're sitting and waiting. That's
All right, so let's. The stock has not reacted, and that's not a shock to me because well, biotechs in general have been under pressure for a long time. I mean,
yeah,
it's just I don't know. It's crazy because you sit here and think, are biotechs going to go away? I don't think they are. I mean, I still think we have a big need for new drug
there's
development. So
good science out there. Yeah,
yeah, I think they're coming back. But what I can say about the stock, at least from the chart aspect, is that it's just in a basing pattern, right? So I think what's really interesting about this is that you've got, um, I mean, the data is coming, right? So, and from what you said, and I'm not predicting what the outcome is. I'm just saying if you had if the options were to take it from 400 to 1100, and they said no, we're good with 800. That and they didn't see any safety incidents that would indicate to me that that's probably a pretty good thing, right? That they only need an additional 400 to look at to
yeah,
be able to say, yeah, this is working or it's effective,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's how my brain thinks, but I could be wrong. Maybe the
I,
people at the FDA think differently.
no, it's not even FDA. It's the data. We'll see the data. I think what you're saying is correct. I think for the you're talking about the stock. I think there were I've heard over the last few weeks some concerns that I think maybe it's worth talking about. I think I heard investors talk about or the fear that we will commercialize this on our own, and we know that commercializing on our own, first, it's a hospital space, which is very complicated. You really need to know what you're doing. Second, it's super expensive. It's, can be $70 million to really launch it all over. So I think it's important to explain to everyone that we took a strategic decision. We're not commercializing on our own. We will have partners. We're looking for partners that know their way around the hospital. They know how to talk to surgeons. They know how to get on formulary. Because there's a steep learning curve to get to get into the hospital. So, companies either and we are already in discussions. Discussions have been picking up as we get closer to the data. There's a few companies in due diligence already. I know because I've been talking to them. There's a few companies sitting on the sideline waiting to come in after data to come in into the data room. But it's basically other companies who are today in the anti-infective space and already understand the conversation with the infectious disease specialists and so on. And the other piece of it is kind of the big med device companies, the J&J, Becton Dickinson, Medtronic. These guys are in every operating room in the hospital. They
Right.
talk to surgeons every day. They have infection prevention units. So it's a really good fit. Those are some of the conversations that are happening. But this is the strategy to go with a partner.
With Dikla, when we spoke, when we had our previous interview, we talked about this. We talked about trying to go commercial on your own. And it's a big undertaking,
Yeah,
and that made me very comfortable that no, that was not the plan. You're
yeah,
looking for partners, right?
yeah,
So, and the partners have been in discussions with you, and I imagine once because there's not a huge sense of urgency for them to do anything right this second
yeah.
because they don't know anything yet, right? But if it comes, I think the discussions get a lot more intense and pick up very quickly if things go your way. Would you
Yeah,
agree with that?
yeah, no, absolutely. Like I said, there's already conversations. We're getting questions. Checking the markets, and companies are doing their own due diligence. the the other piece of concern that we heard from investors is around the cash, right? The need to
Yeah, raise capital.
the day beyond, and for that it's important to remind to everyone, when we raised our last round, and actually based on the interim data, we did the pipe, we raised over $15 million, which takes us into Q3, with the thought the investors saying, okay, let's fund you all the way to the end of the trial. And there's a part of this fundraise, there are $27 million in warrants that expire 10 days after the results come out. And again, the
Okay.
thought is we'll fund you with cash for the trial, and then if the trial is successful, there's a trigger for to get more cash in. So there's $27 million in warrants, the strike price of $4, so not too much far from where we are today. Plus another set of warrants that come in January 26th. So all in all, it's close to $50 million in warrants, which again will take, if fully exercised, will take us all the way to launch. There's a milestone from we already have a partner in Europe, a commercial partner. So we will be getting, assuming top line results are positive, we will be getting milestone payments from them. So another kind of injection of cash. All to say that we expect to be funded. There's no immediate need to go out and raise more money.
Right. I mean, it sounds like if everything goes as planned, that's exactly how it'll be, right? I mean, the warrants will come in, and you're good to go. You don't have to do any additional dilution, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, let's see. One thing I want to talk about, because you did mention this, you said, so this particular study is 30 days, but your product or your delivery system could go on months, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to just touch on that for a second?
Yeah. So we have in our pipeline, we haven't really talked about pipeline. We haven't really focused about pipeline because all the efforts are going into this trial, but we do have other products in the pipeline. Are the two that are public are in oncology. So one of them combines our platform with chemotherapy. With the thought is that if you address the problem at the source, in this case the tumor, and you either apply the paste or we can actually inject into the tumor, then we can have high concentration of chemotherapy at the tumor without all the systemic mess of chemotherapy, the hair loss, the throw ups, and so on. So very high concentration at the tumor. That's that focus on solid tumors. We're in conversations with the FDA on this for glioblastoma, for brain cancer. The FDA actually was very interested. They actually said this could be a first line treatment together with resection in glioblastoma. So that's one. The other
And
thing is
that's because in when you have brain, very difficult to get delivery
there's
to the
really
brain.
nothing really works, and the issue is in many cases is, when you come in and resect the tumor, every millimeter that you're taking out of brain tissue, you're damaging some function, right? So in many cases, doctors don't take everything out. Maybe they take just 90 or 95% of the tumor out, and then there's recurrence. The tumor
Right.
almost immediately starts coming back. So the thought is, and what we discussed with FDA is, take out the tumor on the resection bed, apply the paste, and then the paste will kill whatever is there left, and kind of prevent recurrence. That's the idea.
Interesting.
The other piece is we signed a collaboration agreement end of last year with a company that is a startup company called Immunogenesis. They are based on technology from MD Anderson. They have a molecule. It's a STING agonist, very potent molecule, also in solid tumors. in a way, their molecule is almost too potent. It's so potent that if they inject it systemically, it's toxic to the body.
Wow.
So what we can do is, because they need to get to high concentrations at the tumor to work, but they can't inject too much because it's toxic to the body. So where we come in, we combine with our platform, we inject directly into the tumor. We can release over time, to your point, a few weeks of release locally, create high concentration at the tumor without impacting, reaching toxic levels in the body. This is earlier stage, is still in kind of a research level, but I hope before the end of the year we'll be able to share some first data on that.
That would be exciting news right there.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And again, the platform is very versatile. You can see every place you think of either needs a local treatment or a very long treatment. Frozen shoulders, tennis elbows, where today you inject steroids, but it's short-acting steroids. If you can do once every 2 months, the injection of steroids into the shoulder or the elbow, something like that. That can be a way to go as well. Everyone talks about GLP-1s. We are kind of playing with this idea of very long release of GLP-1 agonists. There's a lot of things we can do.
I didn't even think about that one, but that one does make sense to me, because of the fact that a lot of people have an issue with the dosage size. It seems like they have bad reactions, getting sick to their stomach
It's
and stuff
it's
like that.
it's
So
it's two things. It's one. There's the sensitivity and the fact that you need to come every week. People get kind of fatigue of that, but also, and I think maybe the more interesting piece with the current delivery, there's a spike
hmm
and then a tail, and this spike is what gets you all the bad side effects. For us, because of the structure, this layering structure, it's always the same amount is released every time. So we don't really have these spikes. It's really what we call a linear release. All the time, the same concentration, whether it's 30 days or 60 days, it's the same concentration. This is still in really kind of in the minds of our R&D folks, but that's something that we're looking into.
all right, Ori, let me ask you this, and I'm not trying to jinx you guys in any way, shape, or form, but what happens if it doesn't go your way?
That's a tough one, right? Because I mean the assuming
It's a binary event for you, right?
it really is, because we have the funding, everything is dependent on that. It will also be a yeah, it'll be tough to come out of. Let's say this way.
Right, right. But I think you've come. I mean, you've come. How long have you guys been working on this now? For how many years?
All in all is over 10 years.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a
Over
lot of
10
time,
years, and
man.
then it's a one phone call one day in June. That was it's like the Sparta thing, right? Up, down,
Yeah,
and
but I mean, you know what? You're going to change the world, right? Why is this so important? Let's highlight that real quickly, because especially for the hospitals, right? I mean, if they get the infection, or even if they get sent home and they have to go back, they get readmittance because there is an infection. That's still considered the hospital infection, right?
the way it works. So from the hospital point of view, well, let's start from the patient first. In the patient, I'm taking kind of the more extreme cases. If in open heart surgery, if there is an infection in the sternum bone, there's a 40% chance of mortality, 40.
Oh,
In joint replacements, the infection rates are not high. But if there is an infection in a hip joint or a knee joint, patient can be 4 or 5 weeks in the hospital, multiple surgeries. In many cases, the infection never goes away. You need to take the joint out. In some cases, you can never put a new joint in, and then the patient is kind of left without a knee.
wow.
So the events are not frequent, but the ones that are really kind of detrimental. And then from a hospital perspective, Because this is a hospital-acquired infection, all the efforts to clean the infections are the responsibility of the hospital. In a way, the payer agrees with the hospital on a payment. Let's say a colorectal resection, $10,000. The surgery went well, the patient went home on time, the hospital makes money. Now, if there's an infection and the patient stays another 10 days in the hospital and this costs another $25,000, all these costs are completely paid by the hospital. The payer says, this is your problem. So all of a sudden, you now have an impact, or you're losing money on this patient. The hospital needs to report all these infections. This is public information. So there's a reputational piece here.
Yeah.
I was just talking to some investors from Florida, from the Boca area, and I told them, I just looked at hospitals in your area, and you see the reports, and 3 out of the 5 hospitals have failed score on infections. It's public, you can do. You want to go to a hospital, you will do your research, and you'll say, okay, I'm not going to a hospital with high infection rates. So it's but that
But
means
I
that
mean,
it's not just on the surgeon level, it's also on the hospital management level that they think of this stuff, because this is a lot of money.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, and this solves a big problem. I
Yeah.
mean, it's you. So, is this something that you get reimbursement from? Is there would there be a reimbursement code on this?
So uh, so no, at least at the first few years, when we are only in the inpatient, the major procedures inpatient. Again, our conversations with the
Is
hospital. The
with the
hospitals,
hospitals? Hey, right? They have right. They're
what
the
they
ones
what
that
the
have to pay.
hospitals get, and that's another incentive to use the product. There's a program called NTAP, New Technology Add-on Payment,
Okay.
by which CMS Medicare reimburses up to 75% of the cost of this new drug, and we are eligible for this product. So in a way, we are saving money to the hospital on one side. On the other hand, they get reimbursed from CMS up to 75% of the cost.
Okay.
So again, that makes the pharma economics work nicely in our favor.
Okay. Well, listen, man. You know, I'm pulling for you.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really, and I just think the way it sounds like, things are progressing well. But I mean, nobody knows because it's all
I
right.
think
But
I think this is probably as de-risked as it can get at this point. From everything we've done, we're repeating a patient population where the product worked in the previous trial. We had this interim. We are going to some of the same centers as before. So all in all, I think we try to de-risk it as much as possible. And now it's just counting the days.
would it be, let's say this does, you do fantastically well,
Yeah,
right? And now, so what does that mean exactly? Does that
yeah,
mean
yeah.
you've got approval, or I mean, what does that mean?
So what it means is, so let's kind of the next few catalysts in the next, let's say, 6 months or so. So we'll have top line end of June, a likely pre-NDA meeting with the FDA before the end of the year.
Okay.
Uh, we're also targeting to announce a commercial deal before the end of the year. That would be our goal. And then NDA submission early 2026. And
Okay.
because we have breakthrough therapy and fast track review, end of 26 or early 27 approval.
Okay. And then, um, how big of a TAM is this?
So
Do you have a number?
all in all, it's about 12 million procedures a year in the US.
That's all you know is okay.
And pricing wise, we're looking at around $600 per vial. Uh, the dosing is per incision length, so smaller vials, smaller incisions, 1 vial, 10 to 20 centimeters, 2 vials, and over 23 vials. I mean, on average, we calculate 2 or 2.2 vials per procedure, which kind of takes us between 1,200 all the way to maybe $2,000 per procedure.
Okay.
So
All
it's
right,
a it's it's a
but
big
the more,
market, but take time. It'll take time to build
right.
the kind of
But I think the more important thing is that if you do get the clearance and I mean everything's looking great, then the expanded programs that you're looking at with these other drugs becomes very viable, right?
yeah.
I mean it's like, okay, it works. We
It's
know that
exactly
the delivery system works.
it's a real world kind of validation of the platform. And at this point, at the end of this trial, we'll have over 2,000 patients that tried the product in one trial or another. So yeah, it's a really strong validation.
Yeah. Okay, man. I'm pulling for you. Maybe we'll do a follow up when
After,
you have the
yeah,
results, right?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay,
Sounds
it's
good.
great seeing you, man.
Thank you,
Great seeing you.
Tim.
All right,
Thank
hold
you.
on one second. I'm gonna turn this off. You think I missed anything?
No, no, I think we covered it all. We covered
Okay,
it all.
man. All right, hold on one second. Thank you for tuning in to another executive interview here at Alpha Wolf Capital. Today we had Ori WarShavsky, Chief Operating Officer of PolyPid, PYPD. I hope you enjoyed today's interview, and if you did, do us a favor, give us a like. How about giving us a share? And while you're at it, make sure you smash that subscribe button. All of those things are extremely important to us here at Alpha Wolf Capital, and we appreciate you taking the time to do that. Until next time, stay safe. Alpha Wolf Capital wishes you the very best of success.